Thank you so much for joining us today on 517 Fitness, the YouTube channel dedicated to helping you lose weight and gain faith. And today I am super excited for this interview because it is a topic that I personally have had a hard time with, and I know you guys are having a hard time with: meditation. And I have found the guy that knows it inside and outwards and every way, whatever. And that is the great Harry from consciously.org. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. And meditation is definitely something that I've spent a long time getting acquainted with. So I'm always excited to talk about it.
So yeah, why don't we just jump right into that? How did you get into meditation? How did you make this your passion and get into it and whatnot?
Sure. Well, back in high school, I was your typical jock, partier, chased women. Just, there wasn't much purpose in my life. It was just, I was there to have fun. And it kind of just, it left me empty inside. It left me with this, I feel like I'm meant for something more. And I didn't know really where to turn to all that much. But a friend of my brother said, hey, I was in China for a little while and I did Kung Fu with the Shaolin monks. You should go check it out. I said, that sounds amazing. And
that
right
sounds
before I left. Yeah,
that sounds
right?
straight out like a superhero movie. Like you're all of a sudden about
exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh man, that's going to be mystical. That's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
And before I left, I also learned about meditation through this place called Self-Realization Fellowship, which is yogic meditation. And I was just dabbling in that. And so what I did is I left. I went to China, and this is 2 years into college, studying business, didn't like it. Went to China, and I studied Tai Chi there and Qigong, which is essentially energy movement, but meditation in motion, for about 3 months. And it was a mind-blowing experience. Came back, and then I moved into an ashram, which is a yogic monastery. Essentially, there was monks living there and everything, but it was all yoga meditation. And so I spent the next 6 months there. Totally turned my world upside down, taught me how to introspect in a new way, showed me the depth that meditation can take you through, and then just service. I served for 6 months. And after that, I left and I went back to college, but I changed my major to religious studies, actually with the focus in consciousness studies. So wasn't as much about like, hey, what are all the religions doing? It was more of, hey, what is like the psychology or the spiritual perspective or the quantum physics behind these deep spiritual happenings? So I got to study that at the University of Michigan for 2 years. That was also fascinating. It took me further down the rabbit hole. Then after graduating, I traveled a little bit and then went back to the ashram for another 4 months and lived with monks again. And I decided not to become a monk, but I was very much in line to possibly become a monk. And at the end of the day, I said, if it's all the same, I'd like to do it in the world, as they say in the ashram. It's in the world or in the ashram for them. So, since then I've been teaching meditation, teaching nutrition, teaching people how to find their purposes and to take the leap and to understand that following the wonder in life and following just that what if is so beautiful, and so it brings purpose into your life.
Okay, there's like 5 things that you mentioned during that I'm like, okay, mental note. Okay. So first off, what does a day in the life look like as a monk? Like living that lifestyle, you talked about doing it for a couple of months, then 4 months. What does an average day look like in that world?
So at the ashram, it depends on the day, but usually it's wake up. So they had a schedule. They have the schedule laid out. So before 7, they say, wake up around 6-ish and do your own meditation, shower up, whatever it is. Then it's from 7 to 8, it's group meditation. So we go in, say our prayers, meditate for the rest of the hour. Then group breakfast in silence. So, half hour of breakfast in silence. And then you start your day serving. So I served in almost every, it's a community. So I served in the kitchen. I served in the front office as the manager. I served in the garden department. I served as the housekeeper. I did a bunch of different things. And you do that till lunch. Half of lunch is meditation. The other half of lunch is eating in silence once again. Then the rest of the day you serve till about 3 or 4, 4:30 actually. And then from then on, they're really big on activity. So they say, hey, they had a volleyball court, they had a basketball court, they had all sorts of stuff. And so they're big on get your body moving, be healthy, do yoga. They had a gym. It wasn't, it was a very small gym, not what most people would think of as a gym. And then group meditation from 7 to 8 that night. And then just introspection and study after that. And that was your average day. Sundays were all in silence, and they had a 6-hour meditation on Sundays where every hour on the hour you stand up, they do some chants, different things like that. But, it's very focused. It's intense if you're not used to it. You get used to it, and it just becomes life. Just becomes a lifestyle that is quite rewarding.
I personally am a creature of habit and routine, so that sounds awesome. The concept of breaking it down by the half hours and hours and whatnot. You mentioned different types of meditation. So and I'm coming completely ignorant and beginner level with this concept of meditation. Is there I want to say meditation 101, this is the meditation everybody should know, and then they go into the yoga meditation or the other types of meditation? Or how does that all work out?
Yeah, that's a great question, and you're going to get a different answer from different people selling you their different stuff. But my true and honest opinion is that understanding the depth of meditation first and foremost is the most important thing. And what the depth of meditation is to me is understanding this, our inner world, our inner psychology. And it really comes down to that you learn through meditation that you are not your thoughts and you are not your emotions. You're not your body. These are all small s self is what I call them. They're little self. Your larger self or your soul, your deepest you is something different. That is that inner awareness. That is that inner consciousness. And so we learn to sit in our awareness instead of being lost in the energies. So I say it's all consciousness, which is the awareness, and all energies, our body, our mind, all these other things. It's energy in motion. It's just energy in motion. So that's number one, first and foremost. That's a big thing that we need to learn. Then from there, we recognize, hey, I'm not my thoughts and my emotions, but I have them, and they're not to be demonized. A lot of people call them the ego, and the ego is very demonized. But I like to say, hey, no. It's not the best master. It's a horrible thing to get lost in, but it's a great tool once you recognize that you're not those things. And that's where other meditation paths come in. So there's a lot of, there's affirmation, visualization, there's contemplating death, there's silence, there's a lot of different breathing techniques. So there's a huge avenue of different places to go from there. But if you never go there first, you're always caught up in this, I'm affirming this thing, but you're believing that you're this affirmation instead of realizing, no, I'm just using that as a tool. And so it's first recognizing who I am psychologically deep, in a very spiritual and religious way as well.
And so that was kind of because you've mentioned a lot of that component of inner thought and talking and how you speak to yourself and that stuff. Is there... where's the origin of meditation come from? Is it Eastern, Western? Where does history lie?
So as far back as we know, historically, it's been in almost every single culture and civilization, from back to Sumeria, which is pretty much as far back as our records show. And so it's a practice of getting to know the self. It depends on which system you're going in. If you're looking in the Vedas, so for much more Eastern, and that's more your Krishna and different religions. It'll go back 3,000 to 2,500, 3,000 years. You look in Buddhism, it's 2,500 years BC. I mean, you look at it, it's found in almost every religion. But one thing that we very much separate religion from meditation in our course, just because we want it to be very hey, we're not going to get into deeper religious truths here. This is just a breathing technique that you're going to learn your own psychology. Me personally, my own path and my own experience, you cannot separate, in the end, you can't separate spirituality and meditation, because meditation has been a way to identify spirit and deeper truths. So yes, we do separate them, but in the end, it's all tied together. You know,
It
it's
all
just
comes back
we use
together.
different language for different groups of people, but it's been around since the beginning of our historical understandings of civilization.
Okay, so that makes a lot of sense, and I'm following along. That was my biggest concern in, talking with you. It's like, this is something that I've not dabbled in at all. I've done a couple of the apps and tried it, but it's like was so nervous I was just gonna lose it and not know where we were going. Okay, so that makes sense. I understand the separation of them, but really they're one and the same, spiritual and whatnot. In that, I want to jump into meditation. I've everybody from Tony Robbins, Tim Ferriss, all those those guys, that group of people, and claim it's the thing that has set them apart and raised them in their ranks. What would be where would you start? I mean, you have courses on your site, so what course on your site would be the best thing to start, or is there a beginners thing that you always direct people towards?
That's a good question. The reason that I am going to definitely just plug in my own meditation course is because it's designed specifically for that. So ours, it's called Consciously Meditating. If you go to our site, consciously.org, Consciously Meditating, it's a 90-day course. And each week we go over a different topic. And so for the first 3 weeks, week number 1, we're just teaching you how to sit, proper posture, where to sit, when to sit, how to sit. Week 2, we dive into just listening. We just want to listen to our surroundings. We want to become present. So, because a lot of meditation is just about becoming present, the practice of presence. Week 3, we dive deep into that concept I was talking about with consciousness and energy, and we call it the witness, and just becoming the witness of life. And I call that diving deep. We dive deep quick. Weeks 2 and 3 are kind of deep. Then from there, we come back out and we say, okay, now that we recognize that we are not our mind, we are not our ego, what to do now? Then we spend a week on affirmations, on visualizations, on just stress and anxiety, because that's something a lot of people deal with. And meditation in mental health has been shown to help, let alone its deeper principles. And we go through various things along the way. We even do a walking meditation, because some people just can't sit still very long. And I would obviously say to practice sitting still. But when we're on the move, meditation isn't about the 5, 10, 15 minutes you spend sitting still. It's about, can I take that peaceful, clarity, creative space with me throughout the day? And we teach how to do that. And then we tie it all back together at the end, going back into the mind, back into the witness. And then I like to say that I drop a little bomb at the end, because you've spent 90 days doing something, and then I just kind of say something that derails a lot of people, but it also gets them to really dive deep and think. It's the type of stuff that they would do at the ashram. They would really make you be like, whoa. So I like to finish it off with that. And it's a good beginner's course. We don't get deep in spiritual principles. We don't kind of take any avenues that will offend anyone, because everyone's got their own place that they're coming from. And it's slow. It's slow. We do the same meditation or same couple meditations just throughout the entire week. None of them are longer than 15 minutes long. So it's not a huge time commitment. None of the classes are longer than 15 minutes long or 20 minutes. A couple of them are 20, a couple of them are like 5 minutes. So we try to keep it time sensitive. We're really big with that. But my reason for doing all that is that once you have that base, hey, you know what? Affirmations work for me. Nope, visualizations work for me. I had someone the other day say, I couldn't sit through the silence meditation. It just was so hard. And it's funny, because 3 weeks before that, someone else said, silence meditation is my favorite. It's my thing. Neither of them are right. Neither of them are wrong. It's what works for them. And then from there, honestly, since you have a faith-based following here, diving into those principles, no matter what religion it is fascinating. And diving into the soul and connecting with, larger source and all these things is so beautiful, using meditation, using a clear mental focus instead of a staticky one that we're all over the place. So it teaches you to step into that place.
That sounds awesome. And I mean, a part of me would be super nervous about the quietness. Because I have a 8-month-old and a 3-year-old, and my life is noise. So yeah, that part of me is like, that'd be super cool. But then at the same time, it's like, I don't know what that would be like.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And it's learning to listen to whatever there is. You know, the silence, it's something that we do seek out. We want the place to be as silent as possible, but whatever the noise is, and we learn to identify noises that we don't even hear anymore, like the buzz from my computer trying to cool down, and the fridge in the background doing this or that. The noise that just is always there so we don't pay attention. We learned that, oh my gosh. And you realize that that's a theme in life, that there's so much there we never pay attention to because we're not present. So it's just becoming present with your babies, with your life. And it works pretty well.
That's awesome. You talked about visualization. You've talked about breathing exercises and stuff like that. Prior to us jumping on into this, you and I chatted about doing just a 5-minute, you kind of walking through something that, we can do right now. Is that, how does that work out? How would, a beginning meditation kind of thing look like?
So what I would do is that I would just kind of quickly walk you through good sitting posture. We close our eyes, and then I'd walk you through a couple of different breathing techniques, just one after the other, designed to get you into a calm and relaxed state. And then we just tune in with the present moment for a couple minutes and come out of it. And it's amazing what 5 minutes of focusing here and now will do for your state of mental clarity, for your peace, for your connection, for all of those things. It's truly amazing what 5 minutes will do.
Well, if you got 5 minutes, I'm down. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right. So if you're sitting in a chair, which I always tell people to do, you don't want to stand up because you'll fall over otherwise, is get good posture, sit up straight, shoulders rotated back and down. Place your palms up, turn towards the ceiling, and just wherever they comfortably lie. And from here, we're going to gently close our eyes and uplift our gaze to the center of the forehead. Now, don't strain to keep them there. Just keep them there with a gentle gaze. And we're going to go into our first breathing technique, which is called the triple breath. This is breathing in through the nose, holding, and breathing out through the mouth. As we breathe in, we're going to count. And we're going to match each count. So if I breathe in for 5 seconds, I'm going to hold for 5 seconds, and I'm going to breathe out for 5 seconds. If I can make it to 10, I'm going to do 10, 10, 10, whatever count works for you. So we begin now with 3 triple breaths at our own pace. Try to fill your lungs to their capacity. With each new breath, try to add a second to each count. As you breathe out, consciously relax your body. We'll transition now to the tense and relax. This is a double inhale through the nose. And you're going to tense every muscle in your body for 2 to 3 seconds. And then double exhale through the mouth and release all of the tension. Do 4, tense and relax at our own pace. With each new breath, tense more deeply. And relax it all away. One final breath. And relax. Allow your breath to begin to flow naturally. Search your body for any final tensions. and consciously release them. Begin to become aware of the breath, becoming passionately curious, as if someone else is breathing you. Notice how the air is slightly cooler on the inhale and slightly warmer on the exhale. Feel your lungs expand and contract. Feel your ribs expand and contract. All the while sinking more deeply into a peaceful and calm place. We'll finish now with 2 triple breaths at our own pace. You may open your eyes when you are ready.
Okay, so there was a couple. That was pretty cool. Okay, so go ahead.
And
what
that's
were you gonna
just
say?
a couple beginner breathing techniques, very easy to apply. I didn't hold anything back there. If you do my meditation program, that's a couple of the techniques that you will learn. They're very powerful. Those are ones I learned at the ashram, and it's amazing what a couple different techniques will do to your psychology and your physiology in just a matter of minutes.
That was something I noticed in the triple breathing. I'm competitive, even with myself. So as I'm breathing, I'm like, okay, I did 8 that time. I bet you I can do 9. And I was trying to then get out of that concept. But I honestly, I felt it wasn't lightheaded, but I did feel relaxed and like a weight was taken off my shoulders, kind of a concept. What I thought was the most interesting is during the second triple breathing, my hands felt so heavy. I don't know if that's a thing, but like I consciously was like, my hands feel so like warm and heavy right now. It was just one of those. I wonder if that's a thing. And I think that's where I overthink all of this.
Right. Well, and it's also, but it's good because you're becoming aware. And now you're understanding on a deeper level why my business is called Consciously. It's because we're becoming conscious of the moment to moment in life, whether that's through meditation or nutrition or whatever it is. It's conscious awareness of our lives. And there are certain things that you'll see across the board, meditative experiences. Hopefully, being calm is one of them. But there's also things that are just different for people. So if your hands were feeling heavy or sweaty or cold, that could have to do with circulation. That could have to do with a couple different things. So how's your shoulder mobility? Being a trainer and all these things, it's something for that to think about. Or I know that I have poor circulation because I played football all those years and I separated one shoulder, tore the other shoulder. And so that's something I do experience as well. And it's it's just becoming consciously aware, like, hey, where do I maybe need to spend a little bit more time on my body in recovery instead of just always, pushing it or whatever it may be. It's stepping into that. And as for the getting in your own head, like, oh, I bet I can do more. Did that calm down or did that stay that way?
It eventually calmed down. I made I consciously made that choice. I was like, I'm gonna stop at 11. I'm not gonna try and go for 12. I'm not gonna try and go for, I was just like, 11 was a nice, easy, like that was what was not stressing and not tightening it kind of a thing. So I stopped at 11. 11 was my number, and I feel like I probably could have gone more if I really was going for it, but I was like, no, I'm going to try and calm this out.
And that's the other thing, is that a lot of people mistake, and this is something we were talking about before we hopped on here, is mistake meditation for being a thoughtless place that is just deep and peaceful. When in reality, the mind is always going to be there. I don't want to say always, but mostly always going to be there. The thing that differentiates a 40-year meditator from a 4-minute meditator is the fact that they're just allowing that to be. They're recognizing it for the mind and then not becoming attached to it. Just come and go. It comes and it goes. So, oh, there's the mind being competitive again. No judgment. Just there's the mind again. Because now I know that I'm not the mind. And that's why stepping into outside of the mind is so important to start off the meditation program, because now I can recognize it for what it is instead of feeling like, oh, that's me being competitive again. No, that's the mind in its habit pattern that it's been formed for 20, 30, 40 years. That's all it is. Allow it to come, allow it to go. It's non-attachment. It's mindfulness. That's where all these words come in that are kind of buzzwords nowadays. Just letting it come and go. And yes, there are states where you can reach, a much, they call it the monkey mind, where the monkey mind calms down. But it's not really a goal. The goal is much more to allow things to be as they are.
And you kept saying the word present, and that was something I noticed while just in this 5 minutes or so of meditating, was that you don't really, I mean, I personally don't think about my breathing, and I don't think about just sitting, we've got cell phones and social media and kids and life. And that was a nice, the visual just is like weight lifted off, kind of take that 5 minutes to decompress and not think about any of that and just focus on yourself and your breathing.
And well, that's a really good point, because mental health exists outside of the present moment. Because if you are depressed or sad or fearful, that's coming from the past. If you're anxious and you're stressed and you're fearful, or it could be coming from the future, it's displaced from the present moment. So when we're just here and now in this moment with my computer, and I have my water bottle here and my desk and all these things, this moment, it just is what it is. It's not full of stress and worry and depression and sadness and all these mental health issues and mood disorders. It's just here and now. And so that's all it is. And that presence, what meditation does is it brings us back here now, so we can experience our life in the moment instead of always being caught in the future or the past.
That is probably the thing that's the thing that makes them, like, that was my mind, like that concept of staying here in the present, because I am a person that has dealt with, depression and stuff like that, the past. And then there is that concept of the fear of the future and what, being a dad and stuff. So you're always thinking about these areas of your life, and then my mind just went. So,
and it's something that a lot of us deal with in one way or another. I mean, being an entrepreneur, and you just never know if money's coming in tomorrow and whatnot. And so there's so many stressors that we could be consistently focusing on. And what they said in the ashram is where your focus goes, the energy flows. So if I'm always focused in the future, my energy is not going to be here and now, and I'm going to be depleted, and that's when all those things come in. So I need to focus here and now.
So to wrap it up, my question that I want to that in all of this, in my head, I have an answer already, which isn't a good question, but how often that makes it like it's like I already know the answer that I would say, but it how often should you meditate? Like, I mean, when you were off with the monks and stuff like that, you were doing it for hours on end, but like the normal person or everyday life type of situation, what would be is 5 minutes in the beginning of the day, 5 minutes at the end, whenever it hits the fan, taking 5 minutes, kind of a concept. What would be your
that's exactly what our entire first class is about. And my answer is that it's different for every person. It's really hard to give an answer that applies to everyone. But what we like to tell people to do is that just start with once a day and 5 to 10 minutes, whatever you're called to do. And this isn't something you should feel obligated to do. This isn't something that should be a task, because the second it becomes one of those things is the second you're defeating the very reason you're there in the first place. This is meant to be self-care, a fun thing. So I like to do it first thing upon rising. Your mind really hasn't started too much at that point. You still have that calmness, so you can go a little bit deeper. But like you said, whenever stuff hits the fan or whatever happens during the day, hey, I know a couple breathing techniques that might really help me right now. And just, even do it while you're just standing there, or go find a quiet space when you hop in your car, and different times during the day. I think over time, you'll find what works for you. Some days I honestly don't even meditate. Other days I was at the ashram this weekend and I meditated for 10 hours in one day. So it's just, what am I being called to do in that day? What's my purpose behind it? That I was really seeking some internal guidance and answers. Other days I'm just doing it to kind of de-stress. Like I said, I get really deep on other things, so I have all sorts of reasons to sit. But whatever works for you, but it's getting acquainted with the process in order to learn what works for you in the first place. We kind of need to dive in order to learn how to swim.
So you just talking about meditating for 10 hours, I got a quick question. Is that, like, after a really good workout, I'm energized and stuff like that? Like, is 10 hours of meditation, is that super draining? Or is that like you then couldn't sleep for 10 hours type of a thing? Like, how does that personally, how does that work out for you?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think the answer is different things at different times. It depends on the focus. So I do energy meditations, and when I do that, man, I like, bad news if I did it right before I slept, because I'm not going to fall asleep. I'm just going to be like,
okay.
But if I'm doing something that's just very peaceful and calm, and I've been sitting for a while, sleep is, literally I close my eyes and I'm gone. And we do a week of sleep in the program as well, to teach people how to sleep and how important sleep is, because sleep is very, very, very important for recovery for all sorts of reasons. But so it depends. It depends on the focus of the meditation.
That just it sounded like 10 hours. Like, that would either be super energetic or super draining. So with that, first off, thank you. You have answered a lot of the questions I had about meditation, and directed it in such a way that it isn't as frightening. And I don't mean this to sound mean, but like new agey weird. Like, you took a lot of that. This sounds so mean, but like hocus, but like it just seemed, it's just something that wasn't normal to me and my audience. That like, what is it? So thank you for that. You talked about your course. You've talked about a couple of things. Like, where can people come and get you to help them in this process and better their lives in that way?
So, it depends on really what someone's focus is. I would say the course, because I am active in the course. This isn't something you take and you never see me. I am your coach during the course. If you're looking for more personal coaching when it comes to purpose and finding other reasons, you can contact me through our website at the contact page, and I do personal coaching as well. And we are actually doing a free event, triple 3-weekend event coming up starting on the 24th of February, where it's all about happiness. I'm doing the first 2-hour session, and then a week later, we're doing another 2-hour session. A week later, we're doing another 2-hour session. It's all about happiness. So if you want to check us out at Consciously Community, it's a group on Facebook. You'll have to ask to join. It's private, but we'll hop you in there. And if you're interested in that, but I would say that if meditation is your focus, I would sign up for Consciously Meditating for sure. If you have larger focuses or whatever it may be, like we said, that one's, it's very secular. We try to just make it very science-y. And I can talk about anything. Like I said, I have such an extensive background. I can go spiritually and religious. I can go hocus pocusy. I can go anywhere with it. There's a very big breadth. So wherever someone is, I can meet them. And yeah, it just depends on their purpose for wanting to talk to me.
Perfect. And I'll put as many of the links as you have in the video description, so it makes it easier for people to go to.
Amazing.
But thank you so much. And yeah, people go check out consciously.org, correct? It's org,
Yes.
Right? And get that course, because that 5 minutes after you've done it, you'll realize that you should go do it, because I'm going to go look into it more myself. So thank you so much. Thank you for watching this video, you guys. And as always, God bless, finish strong, and I will see you in the next video.